So often when we consume information, especially around business, it's about getting to success. We look around us and we see that everyone else is so successful. And we dread risking our own image of success in the world. The Los Angeles Times released research that found we are more afraid of failure than we are of ghosts or even spiders. Now, that was in America, so I'm not sure if the spider thing would hold true in Australia, but I'd love to see. If we're going to talk about innovating for a better future, we are going to have to talk about failure because you cannot grow and change and challenge and disrupt without making mistakes. Now, you may be wondering, okay, this all sounds fine, but what about when things go really, truly terribly wrong? What do we do then? That's where our team has what we call our Doona policy. This is when things go absolutely horribly wrong, as they will. You get 24 hours to hide under your Doona and lick your wounds. And then you come back and we fix it. Our small staff team of 4 was selling into 3 countries at just under 2 years of trading when the pandemic hit. Within days, our UK manufacturer had no choice but to close permanently without notice. I spent a lot of time frustrated at myself that I hadn't negotiated a contract that included a global pandemic and Britain leaving the European Union, and wondering how in the world I was going to move a global supply chain when I couldn't move more than 5 kilometers from my own front door. And all of this was true, but none of it was particularly helpful. And so I did something a bit odd. I went back and I looked at all of the times that I had failed in the past, and wow, there were so many. And I decided to pull out my favorite failure techniques. First, I reframed. I realized and believed deeply that this was actually an incredible opportunity for our business to create more impact. While we were paying a living wage through fair trade, our supply chain was inherently extractive. We were taking raw materials from farms in developing countries and we were value adding to those in the UK. How much more impact could we have if we actually moved that manufacturing to one of our fair trade partners, closing that value loop? Next, I mapped out all of my worst fears in tackling this huge problem. Has anyone ever done a fear map? Oh, yes, it is grim, right? Yeah, but really useful because freezing in fear is always worse than taking action. I would love to take you through what a fear map exercise looks like, but we don't have time today. I hope you'll come up to me afterwards to talk about this because it is so confronting and so good. Next, I went outward rather than inward. So often when something doesn't go to plan, we feel fear and we feel shame and we want to pretend to the entire world like it's not happening. But I encourage you to do the exact opposite of a normal shame response because there are so many people who are going to be cheering you on from the sidelines, ready to be tapped in to help. Finally, I thought about the immense privilege that I have in working in this organization. What I mean is this. I get to sit down over millions of cups of tea with tea lovers. I get to spend time with them while they take maybe the first moment to themselves of the day, while they take a deep breath. I get to have a conversation with them about the beautiful tea and spices and the incredible impact that that cup is going to have in their hands. Every person in this room has this same privilege with every event and every client that you interact with. And I never want to take that privilege for granted, even in the most challenging of situations. Now, I am happy to tell you that we have a brilliant fair trade manufacturer in Sri Lanka, but please don't imagine that this story is over, because I am sure there are hundreds of more failures awaiting me on this journey. And I'm going to be afraid of them, but that's okay, because I'm going to greet them as the old and new friends that they are. Because when we are trying to innovate for a different future, there's no such thing as perfect. I love this quote by LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman. If you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you have launched too late. Give yourself permission to not be perfect. It's worth falling on your face a couple times for a better world. And I understand that we have all had quite a bit of a time over the last few years. I personally have given up on the word pivot. I am pirouetting at this point. But with change comes the space for innovation and the opportunity to turn that innovation into a future that we can be proud of. And I'm personally so excited to see how far we go.